As we're at the start now for the Queen Mother Challenge Cup, Leander Club on the left of your screen in the Bach Station. And in the Bach Station, Frankfurter R.G from Deutschland. Mark, how do you see this panning out?
Yeah, obviously we've got the much favoured British quad that's representing Team GB on the international stage, going up against the Germans. And you know, the Brits have dominated this event in recent years. I've just heard a rumour from the Leander group that obviously Pete Lambert is dying to get his record back down the full track, which he lost when he wasn't in part of the crew 2 years ago. So he's hoping to regain that record. So I'm expecting some fireworks today and them going down the course.
Yeah, and this is a big year for Frankfurter Rudergesellschaft to Germania 1869. Their 150th anniversary, which they've been celebrating at the Henley Royal Regatta this year. They presented a special trophy, a jug, to the chairman of the regatta, Sir Stephen Redgrave, and have had a number of celebrations and put a number of strong crews over this week.
Would that be like a jug for beer in German?
It did look like an ale jug. It did. But this is, it was basically a straight final in this event, so we haven't seen either of these crews racing so far this week.
Yeah, so there's no form guide to go on, so that's what makes this race even more challenging for both crews.
Big start there from the Germans, it looks like, really blasting out of the blocks, getting their steering on early just to make sure that they go straight past Temple Island, but perhaps they've just blasted out into an early lead, but I suspect they're going to have a very tough job against this crew from Leander Club.
Yeah, because the British crew aren't the quickest crew or boat in this particular boat class on the world stage out of the blocks. They tend to use their last 1,000 metres as the thing that really brings them into the race. So, you know, the Germans, I'm sure, will want to get out early, try and put them under pressure.
Oh, the Germans very close to the boom there. Quick correction, that is not where you want to be with your blades that close to the booms. Looks like that wiped a little bit of speed off their boat as the British really holding that early speed up now and pushing into about a 3/4 length lead.
And there's so much depth and talent in the sculling group that the British team has, but it's trying to find that perfect combination to really bring those medals home, or the gold medals. They've been so close for a number of years, but we haven't really capped it off yet with a gold medal in any of those boat classes, so they're trying to find the perfect combination.
Well, it looks like they've certainly found a crew that's going well enough here to take out the Queen Mother Challenge Cup. Will they be able to hold their composure down the track over this German crew from Frankfurter Rudergesellschaft?
And I said, like, they're looking at the times they're trying to put up as they go down up the course. You know, the times that are the records at the moment to each marker for the barrier is 1:47. So be interested to see how close they are, whether the Brits go out to try and take those records, or they decide to kind of bring it down and coast over the course. But they are building a substantial lead already.
Yeah, and that is an interesting question. I mean, they obviously haven't had to have much of a fight to get through to here. It's a straight final, more or less, in this event. If you're the British crew and if they find themselves dominant over the Germans, which at this stage they are, do you go down the track as quickly as you can, or is it more protocol to perhaps be more gentlemanly in your the way you attack this race and the margin that you end up taking over the other crew? And
that's a real interesting dilemma, isn't it, with racing, that, you know, you want to be gentlemanlike or athlete sportsmanship that goes on. But the problem is if they haven't raced, they want to get a race under their belt, and they want to kind of, you know, feel that pain of going down the course as hard as they can. And also, there's another challenge for a crew. If they're going to try and do that, can they stay focused enough to do it properly, or do they switch off?
And I'm not sure if you know the answer to this question, Mark, but is this the crew that we'll be seeing race at the World Cup next week in Rotterdam? Yeah,
this is the British quartet that was raced at the previous World Cups, and we'll be going to the World Cup in Rotterdam next weekend. And I'm assuming if they perform well, we'll be going on to Linz for the World Championships later in the summer. So, you know, and the good thing about the British sculling group at the moment, they're able to change the athletes every year in and out of these double and the quad. And also they've got two very fast single scullers, so a lot of depth there, but we really need to start turning that depth into medals at the big events.
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming down to crunch time, of course, being the Olympic qualification year. most of the boats for the Olympic Games for World Rowing will qualify at the World Championships in Linz.
And Jack Bowman and Angus Groom were in the double last year that won the double sculls here last year. Were pretty much the top double in the world and went to the World Championships and just underperformed in the final when it was needed most. So I'm sure, you know, this is a pathway for them winning at Henley that they're used to. And I'm sure the kind of outcome they had at the end of the season they want to put right this year.
So really not taking it down at all. They don't look to be relaxing, so they must be wanting to have a proper hit out here. There's no record at Fawley at this stage, but it's not exactly fast conditions that we're looking at out there, not compared to Sunday last year anyway.
No, they're a few seconds off of the time that they were obviously hoping to eclipse at the kind of Fawley marker there. You can see 3:03 in the background. The record to that marker is 3 minutes, so they're a couple of seconds off. But it's also really hard to do something like that when you haven't got a crew kind of pushing you right beside you. So it'd be interesting what they do now. Obviously, that is quite a substantial lead. Do they keep going at this, or do they kind of take it down and have that kind of sportsmanlike conduct that we like to see with racing?
Yeah, and it's a pretty daunting ask, really, for the Frankfurter Gesellschaft, I should say.
I'm so glad I don't have to try and pronounce that now.
Kessler in the bow seat is the most experienced of the four. He's a world champion in the lightweight men's 8 from 2014, so very much a club crew. This crew that's come over to compete in the Queen Mother Challenge Cup up against this national team outfit from Great Britain and Leander Club. So a tough ask for this club to try and take a win in this event.
Especially when all these athletes in this Leander boat have all won at Henley before in this event or the double scull. They've all experienced what it's like to race over the course, the uniqueness of racing side by side, head to head. And it's something that, you know, most crews that come over, it's very, you know, it's very different. It's out of their comfort zone of being in an environment like this as well, when the boats are so close that are moored up on the booms, being close to the athletes, the noise from the stewards' enclosure, so it's very unique and very different.
They're certainly trying to explain what it's like, not only to be here at Henley, but to row on this course and the challenges that you face is really difficult. It's not until you row on here that you really understand this environment. It's so unique and so unlike anything else, and I think that's why people fall in love with this regatta when they do come and experience it.
And it's not just the athletes that get like that. I've had people come to the regatta for the first time ever, and you know, their experience is just, they're mind blown, just literally blown away by everything, the history, tradition, the racing, you know, the social environment. Everybody's so friendly, chatting, seeing people chat. It's very unique.
And you see a thumbs up there from the crew from Leander Club, the British men's quadruple scull. You'll see them in action next weekend at the Rowing World Cup in Rotterdam, defeating Frankfurter Gesellschaft Germania 1869 from Germany. Well rowed, but always going to be a tough ask. That was the final of the Queen Mother Challenge Cup. And of course, we hadn't seen either of these crews in action. It was, as I said, during the race, a straight final. So we didn't really know what to expect, certainly from the Frankfurter Club. We knew that this crew from Great Britain would be a class act, but they have been dominant and they have won that trophy, Mark.
Yeah, on paper, which would be expected. They're one of the top quads in the world, so, you know, coming up against a crew that we don't really know much about unless they've been on the world scene, it's very difficult to kind of anticipate their boat speed. But it's a very comfortable win for the British quartet as they go into the World Cup next weekend, which I'm sure the race will be much more fierce when they come to that kind of final next weekend.
Absolutely. World Cup 3, the last international event before the all-important World Championships.